Imagine a 16th century astrologer whose predictions have left the world stunned for generations. His predictions have been linked to some of history's most pivotal events, the rise of Hitler and the 9/11 attacks. They have now discovered the 10 scariest prophecies by Nostradamus, which predict 2025 as a year of immense turmoil and suggest that humanity may encounter unprecedented challenges. From the ancient Greek oracles to modern horoscopes, humans have always craved a glimpse into what lies ahead. We read the stars, consult cards, and seek answers because the unknown is terrifying. Nostradamus stands out because he didn't just predict small personal events, he looked at the big picture, weaving stories of nations rising and falling, of earth-shattering moments that might one day change the course of history. He did it all in quatrains, 4-line verses filled with metaphor and mystery. His prophecies aren't easy to decipher, but when you start connecting the dots, the results are chilling. They've earned him believers and skeptics alike, but one thing is certain, his words have a way of staying relevant. In his writings, Nostradamus hinted at a year of immense transformation, a time of reckoning where humanity would face challenges like never before. From the rise of artificial intelligence to devastating natural disasters, his predictions for 2025 seem to touch on every corner of our world. He described the death of an old pope and the arrival of a younger, weaker leader who would bring uncertainty to the Catholic Church in his quatrains. With Pope Francis already facing health challenges and approaching the age of 88 in 2025, the timing feels ominous. If his successor falters, could it spark a loss of faith among millions, leading to broader instability? But it doesn't stop with the Church. Nostradamus hinted at a broader crumbling of leadership structures, writing of kings driven out by the people. Could this be a warning about growing dissatisfaction with world leaders? From political unrest in Europe to the tension surrounding US elections, the cracks are already showing. He mentioned combats and uprisings led by a superior intelligence. Could he have been describing artificial intelligence? Today, AI systems are advancing at breakneck speed. Machines are not just calculating numbers, they're creating art, making decisions, and even controlling critical systems like power grids and communication networks. Experts have already warned of AI developing capabilities that humans might not be able to control. Imagine a scenario where a rogue AI destabilizes economies or even military systems. The phrase, machines turning on their masters, might not just be science fiction anymore. It could be the next chapter in human history. Nostradamus prophesied, the dry earth will grow more parched and there will be great floods when seen. If that doesn't send chills down your spine, consider the current state of our planet. In recent years, droughts have crippled farmland across continents, while unprecedented floods have swallowed entire cities. Scientists predict that climate change will only intensify these events by 2025. Nostradamus's description of simultaneous droughts and floods eerily aligns with today's reality. Add to this his warnings of earthquakes in various places, and the prospect of a catastrophic natural disaster becomes terrifyingly plausible. He predicted conflicts that would echo across the seas, writing of a red adversary and combat on waters. Many believe this refers to the rise of China and growing tensions in the South China Sea. These waters, rich in resources and critical for global trade, are a flashpoint for escalating confrontations between China, the United States, and their allies. The term red adversary aligns with China's Communist Party, and recent naval expansions suggest the prophecy could be describing military showdowns in the region. Could 2025 see the spark of a larger global conflict? Nostradamus cautioned, the vast ocean is filled with fear. Among his most chilling prophecies, Nostradamus described the rise of a third and final Antichrist. Napoleon and Hitler, the first two, unleashed devastation on the world. The third, according to his writings, will bring even greater chaos. Nostradamus referred to this figure as a leader emerging during a time of turmoil. Some believe this points to a controversial figure rising in 2025, someone who disrupts norms and divides nations. He described fires burning in the hearts of cities, a metaphor many interpret as urban unrest and social revolutions. In a world where inequality continues to grow, protests and uprisings have become almost commonplace. From Paris to Hong Kong to the United States, frustration is boiling over. What makes 2025 stand out is the possibility of these revolts escalating into something transformative. Nostradamus predicted the rise of a new power amid these revolts, which some attribute to the impact of digital technology. Social media, once seen as a unifier, has become a tool for division. Imagine these platforms not only organizing protests, but also disrupting entire governments. A weakened church could fuel unrest. AI rebellions could destabilize governments already grappling with social revolutions. Natural disasters could push nations into desperation, igniting global conflicts. Each thread of this prophecy web tightens the noose on humanity's fragile stability. The question isn't whether we'll face these challenges, it's whether we'll survive them. Imagine the tools we rely on every day, computers, robots, and algorithms, suddenly turning against us. Nostradamus wrote of superior intelligence rising to challenge humanity. This isn't just the stuff of science fiction. Modern developments in artificial intelligence are proving to be both revolutionary and potentially dangerous. Take today's AI systems, which are rapidly evolving beyond our ability to control them. For example, autonomous weapons and predictive algorithms already influence global politics and security. What if these systems decide they no longer need human input? Nostradamus's cryptic warnings about combats and uprisings led by a new form of intelligence could become a chilling reality. "The earth is dry, yet the floods shall rise," wrote Nostradamus, predicting a world where nature itself turns hostile. This imagery is hard to ignore when looking at recent environmental disasters. Climate change has pushed our planet into extremes. Droughts devastate crops, while record-breaking hurricanes and floods displace millions. But Newton wasn't just describing a hotter planet. His prophecies spoke of massive earthquakes and tsunamis, causing widespread chaos. Geologists warn that major fault lines, like the Pacific Ring of Fire, could produce catastrophic quakes in the near future. Could 2025 see the kind of destruction that reshapes entire continents? It's a grim possibility that we can't afford to ignore. War has been a recurring theme in Nostradamus's quatrains. He foresaw conflicts that would consume nations and spill over into the seas. One line, "The red adversary shall pale with fear," is believed to reference naval battles and rising tensions in regions like the South China Sea. With global powers like China, the United States, and Russia vying for dominance, could 2025 mark the beginning of a large-scale conflict? Nostradamus's mention of oceans of blood suggests not just military clashes but also the immense human cost of such wars. These words might be a harrowing prediction of what happens when diplomacy fails. The idea of pestilence, an unstoppable disease, has haunted humanity for centuries. Nostradamus described waves of sickness that would devastate populations, writing, "The wave of pestilence shall follow the famine." Think about how quickly the COVID-19 pandemic reshaped our world. Now imagine something even worse, a disease resistant to treatment, spreading faster than we can respond. Combined with food shortages caused by droughts and conflicts, such a scenario would leave millions struggling to survive. Nostradamus's vision of famine and plague seems less like fantasy and more like a grim possibility. Nostradamus described fires burning in cities and revolts that would shake societies to their core. This feels strikingly relevant in a world where inequality and injustice are fueling protests across the globe. People are demanding change from the streets of Paris to Hong Kong, but what happens when those demands go unmet? The idea of a global uprising isn't far-fetched. Newton hinted at technology playing a role in these revolutions. Today, social media platforms amplify voices and mobilize movements in ways we've never seen before. Misuse or overuse of this power could trigger unprecedented chaos. He alluded to celestial events, writing of fire descending from the heavens and Mars losing its light. Could the cryptic verses relate to humanity's efforts to colonize space? With plans for Mars missions accelerating, Nostradamus' warnings about cosmic events could foreshadow disasters beyond Earth. Nostradamus' apocalyptic undertones aren't just random musings, they're a narrative that connects humanity's greatest fears. From natural disasters to technological revolts and global conflict, his prophecies describe a world unraveling at its seams. The question isn't whether these events will happen, it's whether we're ready to face them. Nostradamus' writings often draw upon the Bible, borrowing its apocalyptic tone and imagery. For instance, his predictions about famine, war, and plagues closely mirror passages from the book of Revelation. Revelation 6:8 describes the four horsemen as bringing conquest, war, famine, and death. Nostradamus echoes these themes, describing a world gripped by chaos, starvation, and disease. Consider his prophecy concerning great floods and fires devouring cities. These disasters aren't just warnings, they're symbolic of divine punishment, a theme deeply rooted in biblical narratives. The Great Flood in Genesis and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah are stark reminders of what happens when humanity stray too far from moral and spiritual righteousness. Could Nostradamus be warning us of a modern reckoning? The tie to Revelation also raises questions about his prediction of an Antichrist, a figure of immense power who leads the world into turmoil. Many Christians believe this prophecy aligns with biblical descriptions of the beast from Revelation 13, a leader who rises during the end times to deceive and dominate. Throughout history, people have tried to match Nostradamus' warnings about the Antichrist with real figures. Napoleon Bonaparte and Adolf Hitler are two examples often cited as fulfilling his predictions. Nostradamus described them as leaders who would plunge the world into bloodshed, using charm and power to manipulate their followers. But his writings also hint at a third Antichrist, one who has yet to fully emerge. This figure, Nostradamus suggests, will rise during a period of global instability. What's chilling is how closely this aligns with our current political climate. Divided nations, growing extremism, and leaders who polarize rather than unite. Could 2025 mark the appearance of this final, devastating figure? Nostradamus' quatrains don't just predict individuals, they reflect cycles of history. From Roman emperors to modern dictators, history is filled with leaders who fit the mold of his warnings. The lesson? Humanity seems destined to repeat its mistakes, especially when driven by greed, power, and fear. Another recurring theme in Nostradamus' work is the transformation or collapse of religious institutions. He predicted the rise of new leaders within the Catholic Church, often during times of turmoil. His quatrain about a weakened see and the election of a frail pope has sparked debate. Could this mean the diminishing influence of the Church or something more sinister? Historically, the Catholic Church has faced numerous crises, from the Reformation to the recent scandals that have shaken its foundations. Nostradamus' prediction feels particularly relevant as Pope Francis approaches his later years. If 2025 brings a leadership change, how might the Church adapt to an increasingly secular world? Will it unite its followers or fracture under the weight of its challenges? In a broader sense, Nostradamus' focus on religious upheaval reflects a timeless pattern. When institutions falter, people often turn to spirituality or new belief systems. Could 2025 see a shift toward alternative religions or philosophies as humanity seeks answers in an unstable world? What makes Noah so compelling is his ability to root his predictions in history. He didn't just rely on the stars. He studied human behavior, wars, and political trends to craft his visions. For example, his quatrains about wars on the seas and the red adversary mirror past conflicts, such as the Cold War and the rise of imperial powers. By studying cycles of history, Nostradamus revealed a pattern of rise and fall. Powerful nations overreach, alliances crumble, and new powers emerge. His prediction about China's growing influence feels eerily accurate as the world watches tensions rise in the South China Sea. History has shown us that power struggles often lead to conflict, and Nostradamus suggests that 2025 might see this pattern repeat. From technological revolutions that could spiral out of control to natural disasters that test our resilience, his visions remind us of the fragility of human civilization. But they also highlight something deeper, our ability to shape the future through our actions or inaction. The fear of a rogue AI, the rise of a polarizing leader, or even a devastating environmental collapse all seem like chilling possibilities. Yet these are not merely outcomes etched in stone. They are scenarios that hinge on our decisions today. Nostradamus may have seen glimpses of a turbulent future, but it's up to us to decide if his warnings will become our reality. Throughout his prophecies, one theme remains constant. History repeats itself, whether it's the collapse of great empires, the rise of despotic leaders, or the impact of unchecked greed. Noah reminds us that the past holds the keys to understanding the future. If you find this content valuable, please click on the Super Thanks button. By doing so, you're helping us keep creating, researching, and sharing incredible stories that matter. But have we learned from history, or do we inevitably perpetuate its errors? The answers lie in how we confront the challenges before us. Will we heed the warnings of climate change, geopolitical tensions, and unchecked technological advancements? Or will we allow the cycle to continue, hurtling toward the disasters he so vividly described? Nostradamus's reliance on religious and historical symbols carries another powerful message: the need for faith and resilience. In his time, people turned to spirituality to navigate uncertain futures. Today, that same need persists, though it often takes different forms: faith in science, in community, or in humanity itself. The question is whether these pillars of hope are strong enough to withstand the challenges ahead. If 2025 brings the upheavals Nostradamus envisioned, will we unite to overcome them, or will we fracture under the weight of our fears? What makes Nostradamus so fascinating isn't just the accuracy of his predictions, it's the way his work forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. The prospect of a destabilized world is terrifying, but it also shines a light on our potential for change. His prophecies serve as a reminder that every crisis holds an opportunity to rebuild, to innovate, and to grow stronger. Recognizing the signs and understanding the interconnected challenges we face can help us prepare. From there, action becomes essential. Choosing leaders wisely, prioritizing sustainability, and embracing advancements responsibly. Nostradamus might have seen disaster on the horizon, but his words also carry a faint hope, the possibility of averting it. The future he envisioned is dark, but it doesn't have to be inevitable. While his words may haunt us, they also challenge us to confront our fears and take control of our destiny. Thanks for watching. Join our community by subscribing to this channel. Until the next video.